Merry Christmas, Bob.
And God blesses everyone.
Welcome back to WD Magiccast for the week of December 11th, 2022. This is episode 206. WD Magiccast, the show about the mouse, the Marvels, the galaxy, and beyond. I'm your host, Matthew Gracon. In this week's show, Matt Leonard and I sit down to discuss some holiday, winter-themed shorts. We give our, say, top 5-ish of anything before 1980. So sit down and relax. Join us for the conversation and let us know on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram what you think some of your favorite holiday/winter shorts that Disney has produced are. In addition, the survey results are in. And who would you want to spend the holidays with at your house? I put that on Twitter. And so make sure you're following along at WD Magiccast on Twitter for the polls. I haven't been able to get the ones on Facebook working recently. So Twitter it is. And the options were The Muppets, Disney Friends, Pixar Pals, or Marvel's Avengers. Strangely enough, 100% of you, 100% voted The Muppets. Everyone wants to have the Muppets over, have their little special type of mischief and mayhem and chickens and whatevers and frogs and pigs and bears over at your house, having the Electric Mayhem playing some wonderful holiday tunes, chef cooking up some of the sunflower seeds and cranberry sauce, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And on that note, we'll be back after these words from our friends and sponsors. And now, on with the show. It's that holiday time of the year. And you're thinking, oh, yes, they are going to be talking about reviewing one of the Muppet shows. And you'd be sadly wrong this time. Because as much as holiday time, we always do a Muppet holiday special review. We are not doing one this year because the budget doesn't allow us. So we brought in Matt because he is the expert on all things Muppets to talk about something not Muppets for once. And we're going to be discussing our let's say top 5, but our 5
might be 3
favorite. It could be 3.5 of Disney shorts before 1980. Specific guidelines, they have to be before 1980. Disney shorts that are winter/holiday themed. So something a little different here. But
before we do that,
speaking of Muppets. Let's talk about Muppets, and when we're not talking about Muppets.
Now that you've told everybody we're not going to talk about Muppets, I want to talk about Muppets.
That sounds good to me.
No,
we're already off topic.
That's what I'm here for. We're going to do something we don't often do here on the podcast. We have a public service announcement to all of our loyal listeners, and a few of you who tune in just to listen to me. We're doing so. For those who don't know, they have just released the unedited director's cut of Muppet Christmas Carol is now available on Disney Plus. There's a song that takes place about a third of the way into the film. Scrooge's girlfriend, his love interest, Belle, has a song called "When Love Is Gone." You hear a reprise of the end of it at the end of the movie. That random song that Robin, that Tiny Tim and Scrooge starts singing is a reprise of a song called "When Love Is Gone." That was taken out of the theatrical release. I think it was on the VHS release, and then it was taken out again. Just sort of for time, it sort of slows. Some people think it slows the film down. I think it's a lovely little number written by the great Paul Williams.
Beautiful song.
And it is now available. You can now watch Muppet Christmas Carol in its entirety on Disney Plus. So go do that. But here's the public service announcement part. When you go on Disney Plus, select Muppet Christmas Carol. Don't play the movie, because if you play the movie, you'll watch the movie and there will be no song, and you'll be like, why the heck?
What are you going on about?
What are these two geezers lying about? If you go to the extras, you should be able to select the director's cut. I don't know specifically what it's called or how it's marked. I haven't actually done it myself yet, but I know it exists because I follow these things. But
it is called, go into extras, you have three options. You have the Muppet Christmas Carol clip, which is a minute long, the promo release.
Yeah,
don't
watch that.
Song.
It's much longer than a minute.
Yep, you have the deleted song, When Love Is Gone, so you just have the clip of the song itself.
That's the song itself.
And then the last option is the Muppets Christmas Carol, parentheses, full-length version, close parentheses, 1 hour, 29 minutes.
That's the whole movie with the little song included in it. So there you go.
That's it.
So that's our little public service announcement for those of you who like Christmas movies and like Muppets. That's our little Christmas present from us to you. Make sure you go on Disney Plus, watch Muppet Christmas Carol. Don't watch Muppet Christmas Carol. Go to the extras and watch the complete full edit of the movie with the little song included. And Absolutely. There you go.
Yes, Gonzo went online to Twitter to proclaim this as well. He was going on about how everyone needs to go on and watch this, and we completely agree. You need to go on and watch this.
Who said that?
Gonzo.
Oh, of course he would.
Dickens.
He's a very
Charles
smart
Dickens.
guy, that Gonzo.
Not my favorite Muppet, not named Kermit for no reason.
That was a very long sentence with a lot of words in it.
Yes. I try to keep those to a minimum.
Speaking of sentences with a lot of words in it, we should talk about tonight's topic, which I've completely forgotten because we were talking about Muppets.
Yes. So we're talking about our top 5 favorite Muppets not named Kermit. Oh wait, we did that.
No, we did that. That's like episode 52 or something.
Yes. And then if you want to go back and hear our review, and we do talk about that clip of the Muppets Christmas Carol, that's back on episode 67.
Wow. Can I tell you a funny story related to actually literally related to the podcast?
December 2019.
A couple months ago, my daughter was looking for an episode of the show. There was one specific one that she wanted to listen to. And she said, what episode did you guys talk about this? Or what, I think she was looking for the one where the three of us talked about Ahsoka. And I said, oh, let me find it for you. I didn't want to bother you. So I pulled up the thing and I'm looking through episodes of the show and I'm scrolling past. And I see Muppets Letters to Santa review. And I thought, that's weird. Usually when Matt does a Muppets themed episode, he calls me and asks me if I want to be on. Why didn't he? And I was slightly offended. Like, why didn't Matt ask me to be involved in the Letters to Santa? And then I start reading the description and I went, oh, I am in this. It's like, Matt Leonard, guest host Matt Leonard joins us to look back on Muppet Family Christmas, on Muppet Letters to Santa. And I have no memory of doing this show.
Oh, jeez.
When I read it, I kind of vaguely remember talking about it now. But at the time, I should go back and listen to that show because I have, like I said, I have a vague memory of you and I doing that, but I have no real I have no real memory of us talking about Letters to Santa. You could have called me, literally, you could have called me and said, tonight, you could have called me for this show and said, you want to talk about Letters to Santa? And I would have been totally game for it, thinking we had never done that before.
See, well, I originally proposed to you that we do one of the Christmas specials, but I'm like, okay, we are narrowing it down, and we have the very, very Muppet Christmas one left.
We're not talking about the very Muppet Christmas one.
No. And then we got Muppets Family Christmas, and I'm like, well, maybe we could even squeeze in Emmett Otter or Christmas Toy or one of those too. Even though I think those are still under the Henson umbrella, but
Emmett is Christmas Toy. I don't know. Christmas. I don't know. I know that I had a conversation with someone recently, and I found out that all the original Tales from Muppet Land specials, the Frog Prince and Muppet Musicians of Bremen and Hey Cinderella, are all Disney actually owns those, which surprised me a little bit. Yeah. So that's another thing. If you're listening, I don't know if Disney, if they still do the thing where you can request things on Disney Plus, please go and do that.
They can. I believe
if you can. Request the Tales from Muppet Land. Request particularly Muppet Musicians of Bremen is my favorite. But Hey Cinderella and then these are really, really early Muppet specials. I think Hey Cinderella predates Sesame Street. I think Frog Prince.
Wow.
Frog Prince doesn't. Muppet Musicians of Bremen, I know Hey Cinderella does. I don't think the others do. In fact, actually, John Stone was worked on Hey Cinderella, and that's how Muppets ended up. Jim Henson ended up involved with Sesame Street, was because of that. So it's sort of a lead-in to everything. We're now like 10 minutes into the show. We still have not talked about Disney shorts.
That's all right. I was gonna.
The show where we said. Where you just told everybody we're not going to talk about Muppets, and we just spent 10 minutes talking about Muppets.
Well, I've one more final thing to bring up. That in kind of in the same vein of what you were saying about trying to find an episode, that I got the recap from some Spotify about what how the show was this year, and the different accomplishments, and our most. And I'll probably mention this during the recap at the end of the month, end of the year. But the most downloaded episode this year was the.
Tell me it was Letters to Santa. If you tell me it was Letters to Santa, I'm going to reach through the computer and slap you.
Oh please, no! It was it is a Muppet related one.
Oh really?
Yes.
What was it?
Muppet Vision.
Oh really? Oh, nice.
Yeah, Rick. That was the most downloaded. Rick's episode was the most downloaded episode, and I'm like, we did that this year? No, we did that.
I thought we did that. That was a 2021 thing.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
But everyone's discovering it this year.
Huh. Go figure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can't figure it out, but I'm happy. That's the beauty of the podcast. That we recorded at one point, but you have whenever you get to it, it's going to be there for you.
It's good. It's a good episode.
It is.
Rick was an excellent guest.
Yes, he is. We have to have him back on at some point. So, anyway. So Disney shorts pertaining about holidays or winter.
My Disney shorts are in the laundry right now. I gotta finish washing those, or I gotta hang those up so they can dry, so they don't shrink.
My dog ran off with my shorts.
Your Disney shorts?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So pre-1980.
Pre-1980 was the rules for us.
Pre-1980 was and again winter holiday related.
Yes.
So you are the guest, so I'll let you into your idea.
I always kick these off, and I'm gonna fess up to everybody. I pitched this idea. We were talking about this just before we started the record. I pitched this idea to Matt. I said, let's talk about this, and he said, sounds great. And then I realized that I know jack squat about Disney shorts. and I realized I had a lot of homework that I suddenly had to do. So I'm lying to all of you throughout this episode. I've ones that I watched and I enjoyed more. This is by no means any kind of a definitive list. So I'm gonna let you kick things off because I have terrible anxieties about tonight's show.
Oh boy, that's why I have my Christmas lights on for you.
That's why I'm stalling by talking about Muppets instead. You sure you don't want to talk about Muppet Letters to Santa Claus now?
So Nathan Lane did a fantastic job as Officer Meany.
No,
I was just in the airport in November, and I thought of Nathan Lane and Officer Meany because of some of the TSA agents, wonderful TSA agents that are there protecting us and serving us and doing such a great job. So whenever they pulled my 16-year-old daughter over for the full body scan, we were questioning her. It's because she is 16. I'm like, you're an Officer Meany, aren't you? You want a tricycle that goes ding, 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 and you never got it. And that's why you're this way.
Folks, I'm sorry. I apologize. I've completely lost Matt tonight, so it looks like I'm doing the show by myself.
Anyway. So
it's going to be one of these shows.
Wasn't it always?
Yeah.
I'll start mine off with a classic then. Winter related, not holiday. It's a Goofy short.
Oh, good. I like Goofy.
I love Goofy, especially whenever the how-to series.
Sure.
Because they did have someone to voice him, so let's do him explaining stuff. We'll have a narrator, and Goofy doesn't have to talk. We'll just put in the Wilhelm yell. So I will kick it off with Goofy's The Art of Skiing from 1941.
That was almost on my list, so I'm glad you put that one on there.
Art of Skiing, as it is pronounced, because they put the how to spell it S-H or pronounce it S-H-E-E-N-G, Skiing. So it's Goofy. It's I love how they did these how-to series. Because it's the narrator explains it so simply, and it's just, oh yeah, this makes sense. Oh, that shouldn't be too bad. And Goofy always seems to mess it up to the nth degree. Like in this, this one alone, just to put his skiing pants on, he always has his skis on. He's trying to put his trousers on, and of course, obviously, it's not going to work out too well. And, he's going up and down the hills. His skis are getting knocked off. Snowballs are coming down. And at the end, he ends up crashing through the building and landing back into bed.
Like in bed. Right where he started.
So,
and we should mention, I think what's so great about these old, because they did, I don't know how many they did. They did a ton of the sport Goofy cartoons. The Art of Skiing and the how to bass fish and how to play soccer and how to play
Soccer's a new one, but they did have hockey, which I was debating about putting on here, but I figured I may have something else hockey related, so I didn't want to overdo it with the hockey.
Right.
Hockey, football, skiing,
they
swimming.
Did a whole bunch of them, and I think the real hero in a lot of these is John McLeish, who was the narrator and voiced all of these things, did all the narration, because he just does this wonderful, it's this very authoritative voice, and then you just have the silliness juxtaposed with, the silliness and the goofiness of Goofy, just ties it all together lovely. If you had tried to do it, if you had somebody who was trying to, read a comedy or be silly with it, it wouldn't work. But the fact that he treats all of this advice that he's giving as serious and plays the straight man to the animated character, that's what really makes these how-to cartoons work.
Oh, they're absolutely brilliant. And it was a destitute situation because, well, we need to make more cartoons, but we don't have anyone to voice them yet. So it's like, what do we do? So that's where they came up with this stuff, and it just works so well, and it's become such a staple of Goofy, and it's kind of helped redefine the character from the more hobo-ish kind of lazy character that's in the early cartoons.
Yeah, the world owes me a living kind of thing.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
the world will be
A living. Ladle.
Yeah, that one's on here. So it then advances his character, and it's more the Goofy that we know now, and that stems a lot from this. So yeah, a brilliant series, but because with the winter, I'm going with The Art of Skiing.
The Art of Skiing. Excellent. Are we on? Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Okay. Well, since we were talking about early Goofy and how he was, my first pick is going to be the 1935 short On Ice, which features Mickey, Donald, Goofy, and Minnie Mouse, actually, a little bit.
And Pluto.
And Pluto, too. And it opens with this wonderful little sequence. Actually, Clarabelle Clown. No, not Clarabelle. What's it?
Clarabelle and Horsecollar.
Horsecollar are both in there very briefly at the beginning. And I think the Big Bad Wolf is in there too. And it sort of almost, really sets up the Mickey Mouse. There's sort of an opening shot with like all of these characters, these sort of, even if they're not necessarily established, this sort of mouse and dog and pig type characters all sort of skating around each other, and gives you the sense of this larger Mickey verse, which I think is sort of lovely thing to have. And then it sort of follows. There's a little Horace and Clarabelle do a little skating at the beginning. You follow Mickey and Minnie, and Mickey's sort of showing off to impress Minnie. There's a whole storyline with Goofy catching fish. It's very throwing tobacco in to catch the fish.
And singing "Oh, the world owes me."
And actually comes out saying, in fact, actually, when I was watching it the other day, I almost kind of wondered if he was he actually Goofy at that point, or was he technically Dippy Dog
at that point?
1935. I don't know at what point I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and it lists it as Goofy being in the film. I don't know at what point he switched over from being Dippy Dog to Goofy. And then there's a rather horrible little, like, almost subplot involving Donald Duck randomly putting ice skates on Pluto and sending him just randomly. Donald is exceptional. Like, as I was watching all these cartoons, I find that, and particularly early cartoons, Donald is exceptionally cruel, like sometimes for no reason at all.
Yes.
But then in later cartoons, it becomes kind of part of his charm. Like, I kind of like the fact that Donald's such a jerk, but I think when he's being nasty to Pluto, that struck me as a little hard. But
yeah, I agree on that one. That was a bit. Because strangely enough, this one may or may not have been on my list, which I could work around because my list of 5 is, I think, 7 long.
I think we're going to be talking. I think a lot of you and I are going to spend the next half hour or so crossing each other's lists off, because there are I was surprised to discover only so many winter and Christmas related shorts. And I was also very surprised to discover how few of them are on Disney Plus. I had to sort of hunt around to find others. Because I don't think On Ice is on Disney Plus. I couldn't find it anymore.
Yes. Because I watched it. That one is on Disney Plus. It unfortunately, I want to say in the earlier stages of Disney Plus, there was areas that you could go in and really, and they were all laid out there for you.
Yeah, that's what I remember too.
And that went away.
Yeah.
And now you have to really hunt for them.
Hunt for them.
My youngest loves watching the Three Little Pigs, and sometimes it's easy to find, and sometimes it's not.
I imagine that has to do with sort of saving bandwidth by just sort of, rather than have 4 different places to find, I don't know, like On Ice, it's just, rather than have it on as a 6-minute short and then somewhere else in a compilation somewhere, it's just probably easier and more cost effective for them to just stick it in part of a compilation. But I don't know. I don't know how these things technically work.
Yeah, on the
But
back
I
end of
never
it.
found On Ice, and there was another one that I had to search for, and I was like, oh, that's where it is.
Yeah,
And some that I never found at all. They might be on Disney Plus, just buried somewhere.
yeah, like my next one. When you're done, I was going to get to.
No, I'm done. You can
Oh,
go.
okay.
I don't think I. Oh, I guess we should say that all these they're disparate storylines, but they do eventually all tie together, and it's a whatever it is 8-minute cartoon, and it's just a fun way of sort of. I think it's fun to let Mickey and Donald and Goofy sort of be individually themselves, and then sort of bring them together, as opposed to some cartoons which are also fun, where it's Mickey, Donald, and Goofy working together from the beginning. They're chasing
It's a team, so
or they're
it's
fixing
listed.
a house or whatever.
And this came upon later in Mickey's career that it was a Mickey cartoon, but it wasn't Mickey. It was Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. It was the trio working together, and Mickey became more of the team leader, but not, it wasn't so much, Mickey's thing.
Right.
Where Donald would still get his own stuff, or Goofy would get his own stuff, but Mickey was no longer really individual. But I like some of these old ones that like On Ice. There's the Polo one. There's the one where he's going around the highway, where you have the whole cast.
Yeah.
That shows up in the background. It's basically think of Roger Rabbit with Toontown. It's that concept, but in the 30s.
The original crossover event.
Right. And just everyone would just naturally show up and interact with each other, and it was great. Just kind of this sense of community. It's like, okay, Horse isn't his own thing. It's Horse here, and then with Clarabelle and Goofy, and you just get that whole ensemble cast at times, and it was cool. It's cool to see.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times it is kind of like a who's who. It's like you're looking in the background and all the Easter. It's like, oh, look, there's the three little pigs, and there's this one, and there's that one. That they would just kind of randomly.
I think that's half the fun of Mickey's Christmas Carol is that, I mean, yeah, Mickey and Donald and Scrooge and Goofy are there, but when you look into like Fezziwigs or something like that, and it's, the kids from Robin Hood, or you have the Big
Mole
Bad
and Rat
Wolf.
From
Mole and Rat. You've got the Big Bad Wolf. You've got the Three Little Pigs. You've got, I think, is Gus Goose? I feel like Gus Goose is hidden in that film. Like it's like the only appearance, one of the few appearances of Gus Goose.
I want to say you're right.
Like I think he's in Fezziwigs.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Or he's on the dinner table at the end of the movie. One of the two. It's I'm also reading here, and it's nice to see this that actually on Ice, Walt Disney is the voice of Mickey Mouse in that one.
Yes, this is back in the day when Walt was still voicing Mickey.
Still early enough that Walt's voicing Mickey. So that's a fun little piece of history.
That always adds, it's a nice little touch wherever, you still hear Walt and Mickey being one.
Yeah.
So I will go just, let's see here, that's 35. So 4 years later to Donald Duck's Hockey Champs.
Wow.
So similar scenario, but this is Donald showing off his hockey skills to Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and then obviously not taking so kind to Donald being a show off, and doing their own little thing. So and Donald's got the big trophy he's trying to show off, and
I love that gag, by the way, that he pulls out the hockey puck and then he hits the button and it turns into the big trophy. I love that. That's such a wonderful gag.
Yeah, it's again, I love the relationship between Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And this is early Huey, Dewey, and Louie, where they don't have their primary color distinguishings. And them versus Donald. Just a lot of fun. Crazy fun on ice, and again, Donald trying to show off and just completely backfiring on him.
Right.
Wait, is this the one that the bear chases him? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think so.
No, I'm thinking of a different one where he goes sledding. I'm thinking of a different one there where he goes sledding. Which
I don't
is
remember that.
that's
See,
not
I
it.
watched the sledding one last night, and I don't remember the bear sledding him, the bear chasing him. I do remember the sledding one. Is that they build the snowman, and he keeps knocking down the snowman with his sleigh?
Yes. So
Yeah.
they finally built it on a rock.
Right.
And all the fur comes off this big fur coat of his.
I don't remember the bear. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough.
Maybe that's a different one altogether.
Yeah.
There's one with a bear, I think.
There's one with Humphrey the bear. There's give me a second. I had a whole list here the other day. Rugged Bear. That's with Humphrey the bear. There's one called Rugged Bear. I did not watch that one. I probably should have, getting ready for this. It came up, and I was looking for a list of like Disney winter shorts, and that came up as a suggestion, but I never got around to watching it. I do like me some Humphrey the Bear, though. I love.
I love Humphrey the Bear.
I love the design of that character. I just love that face because you can do so much. It's so the elasticity of Humphrey's face is just wonderful.
It's a fantastic design, a fantastic character.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that unfortunately kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Right.
Occasionally pops up, but never to the same extent.
And I think that's also kind of part of the charm of the Humphrey the Bear is because he's not Mickey and Donald and Goofy. Like when he does show up, it's like, oh yeah, this guy. You know, Humphrey is great because he doesn't overstay his welcome. No. You know, you see he shows up on occasion, you see him in something on occasion, and then because really once you've seen one Humphrey the Bear cartoon, you've kind of seen most of them, which is true for as we go through this list. You know, we'll start talking about Donald Duck beating up on his nephews, Donald Duck beating up on Chip and Dale, that kind of stuff. There's a certain Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner aspect to it where the ideas do start to repeat themselves a little bit, but the occasional Humphrey the Bear cartoon is just fun to watch on its own, and you can kind of enjoy it. You know, you don't, if you're not, unless you're like literally sitting down and doing a marathon of Humphrey the Bear cartoons, you know, you kind of forget that they're the same cartoon. Whereas if you watch the Donald Duck, you go, oh, wait, I've seen this one. We just did it. We're like, he's being chased by a bear. No, he's not being chased by a bear in that one. He's being chased by a bear. You know, we can't remember what goes on in the Donald Duck cartoons and what thing happens in which one, because they all do kind of bleed together after a while. There was a lot of words in that sentence, and I'm going to stop now. What were we talking about? The hockey game. We were talking about the hockey champs. Yeah. And I love the conceit of Donald thinking that he can beat them blindfolded, like knowing his nephews are just as horrible as he is and are going to cheat if he's blindfolded. But oh well.
Yeah, that's a fun one, and that's one wherever you pitched the idea. That's one of the first ones that popped into my head. So that is a good one. So what would be your
1939?
1939.
Produced in Technicolor. Clarence Nash as Donald Duck, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Did you know that? And this may have come up before, but actually, Huey, Dewey, Louie, and even Daisy were all created by Carl Barks, the creator of Scrooge McDuck.
Yes.
Before.
At some point, I think we mentioned this, but it is definitely worth bringing up again. And also, it was just Clarence's birthday just not too long ago.
Clarence Nash's birthday. Yeah, no, Carl Barks was a story man before he switched to doing comics. He was a story guy for Disney, and he wrote the first episode. The first short that had Daisy in it was something he came up with, and then the first Donald's Nephews was also his creation. So the man loved his ducks.
Absolutely.
And I think the world is far better for it.
I was just about to say that. What would your number 4?
Oh,
no particular order.
Sorry, I'm gonna because I'm actually looking at this now. Carl Barks, he was the story guy on the Hockey Champ. I'm just now seeing the credit that says Hockey Champ, story by Carl Barks. So there you go. I suspect he also wrote the other one we were talking about with the sledding.
On ice? Oh, the sledding?
Not on. Yeah, I don't remember what that one's called. I've got it here. Hang on. Donald's Snow Fight.
Yes.
That one.
But
that's not the next one on my list.
That's not the next one on your list.
That's not the next one on my list. Sorry, I just led into that thing. I let everybody think that I was going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about Muppets instead.
All right.
You know what? Since we're talking about Donald and what a horrible person he is, let's talk about Toy Tinkers is on my list.
Really?
Yeah. Where Donald gets himself a tree, and Chip and Dale see this, and they follow him back to his house, and they try to steal Donald's walnuts. And of course, hilarity ensues, and capers, and a lot of Donald and Huey. Donald and now instead of being at Huey, Dewey, and Louie, he's at now it's
Chip
him
and Dale.
versus Chip and Dale, which were his other great enemies. Which actually, the film was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Short in 1950, but ultimately lost to Warner Brothers for Sentimental Reasons, a Pepe Le Pew Looney Tunes film directed by Chuck Jones.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I think Toy Tinkers is fun. There's a lot of there's a real charm to it in terms of the sort of wind up toys that Chip and Dale end up playing with, and you know, the little pop guns and stuff. There's a fun little sequence where Dale ends up putting on a little top hat and stepping out and interacting with all these little toys and bowing down low to them. And then there's these two little wind up characters who do a duel and shoot each other with pop guns. And Dale is in the middle of the stand. And because they're bowing, they have their hats on and they're bowing. He bows back to them and is all gentlemanly. And then they take 10 paces and they turn and they shoot him with pop guns, and he gets bonked in the nose. And there's just a real charm to Chip and Dale playing with these little wind up tin toys, which, you know, they don't make anymore. They don't make those kinds of toys anymore.
I had some of those. That's sadly, I don't think I have any Chip and Dales on here. No, I do. I have one. I tell a lie. But yeah, the Chip and Dales are, again, some of my favorite characters. And yeah, to see them start off in a bit part with Donald Duck and what they've grown into.
Right. Rescue Rangers.
Yeah. Is a testament to just how great some of these characters are. And how they've grown and evolved, and they don't just stick to what their initial idea was.
And I think it works. I think the Donald versus thing works a little bit better with Chip and Dale than it does with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, because a lot of the times it is just Donald sort of watching Huey, Dewey, and Louie and thinking, I'm going to ruin their fun. Whereas with Chip and Dale, it tends to be Chip and Dale somehow invading Donald's home and trying to steal his popcorn or trying to steal his walnuts or trying to do something. They're, you know, and Donald's sort of
the victim.
He's a victim, but he also sort of, there's something I love about Donald with Chip and Dale where he'll sort of watch Chip and Dale a little bit with a slightly bemused, he's fascinated by them. He's interested by them. And when that interest comes out, he's like, okay, it's almost like a game of cat and mouse. Like, you know, I don't know what this is. What are these two little guys going to do? What do they do? And then when he's kind of bored watching them, now it's time to set fire to their tails or whatever it is that he's going to do. And it's a cruelty, but it doesn't come out of nowhere like it does with Pluto. It comes out of nowhere a little bit with Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Although you also know that Huey, Dewey, and Louie are not always the best behaved nephews in the world. With Chip and Dale, it's a little more, he's a little softer. He sort of watches it, he's entertained by it, and he's like, all right, now I need you guys out of my house. I'm done being entertained by the two of you. And now I'm going to do things to try and get you guys out of the house. And it usually backfires on him because Chip and Dale are smarter than Donald.
Yeah, well, and to prove your point on that exact, the short to scale is exactly that, where Donald has the train set and he goes to move the tree and there's Chippendale in it, and he sticks them in this village, which they happen to be the right proportion scale of the village to occupy the house, and Chippendale are living in this house, and Dale puts on the apron and starts feather dusting,
I vaguely remember that.
and he's like, "Oh, how can I?" Donald's like, "How can I have fun with this?" So he delivers milk, and they say, "Thank you," and they don't think anything about it, and for some reason, Dale had to go outside, so he makes it seem like it's snowing outside. So Dale puts on this big fur coat, and he goes outside, and Donald flips on a heat lamp. And he's sweating, and he runs back inside, and he's like, "No, it's not. It's cold. Look, it's snowing outside." Okay, so he goes back out, he does the heat lamp again, and it turns into this whole chase on the train, where Donald gets hit by a tree or something like that. Anyway, point being, it's a perfect example of what you're talking about.
Right.
It starts off as this innocent little fun, and, kind of little thing, and then Donald just keeps edging it a little further to the point that the chipmunks go back at him.
It escalates. It escalates in a way that's a little bit, and I think some of the later cartoons with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, it kind of does that too. Like the one where he's, the one where the money bank. He's got the little singing money bank. I remember that one being one that it starts out innocently, and it just sort of, there's more of a build to it, as opposed to something like the snow fight, where it really is just like they're building a snowman and Donald's just going to be a jerk and knock over their snowman.
Yeah, that's like the Halloween one with Witch Hazel, where they're just going trick or treating, and he's trying to pull a fast one on everyone.
Right. Or On Ice, where Donald just randomly ties skates onto poor Pluto and shoves him out onto the ice. It's
yep.
I think they get smarter about the writing for Donald, and there's more of a build. And I think it's fun with Chip and Dale because he starts messing with them, and then Chip and Dale, they retaliate. They don't hold back, man.
Oh no,
they really go for it. But I love in this one, there's a great bit in Toy Tinkers where he comes down he comes down the chimney dressed as Santa Claus, and he's like, "I've got something for you." And of course, they've been looking for walnuts, all their thing. And he's got a walnut that's regular walnut size, and he gives it to one of them. And then he pulls out this giant walnut and hands it to the other one. And then he just sort of lets the two of them
go at each other,
bonk each other, and he sort of turns the two of them on each other. And then he strangely pulls a gun on them. So you really couldn't do these cartoons anymore.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So and that blows everything I say about that gets dark fast. Donald goes to an extreme a bit faster there, but still it's a fun cartoon, despite the presence of guns.
Yeah. My next one I'll bring up also. It's one that starts off with a warning label because of it was made in 1932. How things were perceived in 1932 are not the ways that we're more aware of things now in 2022. Of that, it wasn't right then, but it's we know better now. Type of situation. Santa's Workshop from 1932, Silly Symphony. It's a fun little piece of just the chaos going on at the North Pole, and Santa and the elves trying to get things ready, and the imaginative ways that they came up with how the elves are going to make all the toys in the workshop of just chaos.
Yeah, that was another one that I didn't get around to watching, but so I'm glad you got it on your list.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you would think of that one.
I thought of it. I almost, by the time I was tired last night and I had my 5, so I just went to bed. I should have watched it.
I'll give it to you then.
Okay, the short features the first of the Marches Militaires by Franz Schubert. That's interesting.
It's also presented as Mickey Mouse Presents a Silly Symphony, Santa's Workshop. So
and features Walt Disney as the voice of Santa's second helper.
Not as Santa, but as Santa's second helper. Interesting.
He's one of the elves. See, now I want to watch it just so I can find what elf is played by Walt Disney. And then Pinto Colvig, the voice of Goofy, and Pluto is Santa's secretary.
Yes. Okay. I know which one is the secretary. I have to go double check on which one is the second helper. And then, okay, Alan Watson was Santa. There's also the Pied Piper in one of them, and Old King Cole in another one. A lot of good stuff in there. It's just a fun holiday one to just kind of throw on it. Again, 8 minutes long. That's the beauty of these things. They're short. Most of them are short. One of them I have is 22 minutes long.
So I want to know what this 22-minute long one is.
I'll mention that one next.
Okay.
So I'll let you.
I had a thought about what it is, but we said pre-1980, and the only one I could think of that was 22 minutes would be close to that would be post-1980, I believe.
We'll see.
We'll see. Well, you're gonna play coy with me.
Yes, I will. Teaser.
Are we back to me?
They're back to you. The ball's in your court.
I've got 6 in front of me. What am I doing over here? I got no. Oh, right, because that one I don't know if that one counts as a.
Do it.
Should I do it?
Do it.
See, but the other one I have is a Donald Duck cartoon, and we've talked about Donald Duck.
With 3 caballeros, they say we are birds of a feather.
No, I'm not. I almost put that one on my list. I didn't.
Oh,
we were gonna talk about I can't remember his name. Pedro, is that the name of the penguin?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
I think it's Pedro the penguin. We were talking last night when we were just setting this up that I might do Pedro the penguin, Pedro the penguin story from 3 Caballeros. But no, you see, I've got another one that. See, that would make more sense to talk about because that's actually winter related. But I'm gonna toss one on here and spin it.
I'm actually very upset with Disney merchandising right now.
Why is that?
Because I was in the Epcot Pavilion, which they have the 3 Caballeros ride, and
I didn't know there was a 3 Caballeros ride.
Yes, the El Rio de Tempo ride in the Mexican Pavilion in Epcot. They switched to it's got 3 Caballeros theme, so it's Jose and Panchito chasing Donald through Mexico to go to a concert. So
I didn't know that.
I might have streamed this one, so check the Facebook page. I think I might have streamed that one. And so they have the merchandise shop, of course, in the middle of it. And I'm like, okay, I know they have 3 Caballeros t-shirts. I'm going to finally buy myself one. And I go to the cast members and I go, oh, sorry, we don't have them in adult sizes.
What?
Like, what? I've been waiting for the 3 Caballeros shirt, and you don't have them in adult sizes. So Callan goes, oh no, well I want one too. I'm gonna get one. So he was able to get himself one. So I am happy that he has one.
He has
but I am perturbed that I don't have one.
I love Jose Carioca. Panchito Pistoles is okay too, but I like Jose Carioca.
I like Panchito, but Jose is awesome. They're all awesome.
There's a fantastic Don Rosa comic. It's a Donald Duck comic, The 3 Caballeros Ride Again, and it's one of my favorite comic books that I've ever read. It's first of all because it's got the 3 Caballeros in it, but it's the whole conceit of the thing is that I don't remember what. There's something that happens at the beginning, and Scrooge gets mad at Donald and kicks him out. And it's Scrooge repeatedly telling Donald what a screw up he is, what a louse he is, how Donald is no good, how Donald can't do anything right. And the boys say, just go, just, you need to get out of Duckburg for a little bit. Go on vacation. So Donald goes on vacation, and he meets up with Jose and Panchito, and the three of them go on this adventure. It's this old like high school reunion kind of thing, and they end up going on this adventure. And the entire time, it's all where with Scrooge, Donald can do no right. With Panchito and Jose, Donald can do no wrong, and they just look up to him, and they love him, and they bring out the best in him. And it's such a heartwarming story. It's such a different way to view Donald Duck. It's The Three Caballeros Ride Again. It's one of the best comic books I've ever read. I love it. I love it so much, and I'm so thrilled that Don Rosa wrote that story. And he wrote a follow-up to it, which is all right, but not quite as good. But it's funny too. It's really, really funny.
I'll see if I have to dig this one up. It sounds like it's not too far, or they might have gotten to conceive the idea of.
I am almost positive that DuckTales 2017's borrowed, he said in quotation marks, a lot from Don Rosa. Well, I mean, much the same way the original DuckTales borrowed a lot from Carl Barks.
Admittedly so, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, at least Carl Barks got story credit for, I would say, most of the episodes that are based on, not all of, but most of the episodes that are based on his ideas. Don Rosa, of course, got nothing. But yeah, that was, I'm sure that they borrowed some of that from him. But we were talking about, we wandered again.
Right.
I'm gonna toss one, and I'm gonna spin it as a Christmas cartoon. It's not really a Christmas cartoon, but it just struck a chord with me. It's on a Christmas compilation DVD that I have, and I can't remember what the name of the compilation is. I can go, when Matt starts talking later, I'll go into the other room and get it and tell you what it's on. But it's another Donald Duck cartoon, because we haven't talked about Donald enough tonight.
No.
The Clock Watcher, where Donald gets a job in a department store wrapping presents, and they never explicitly say that it's the Christmas season, but I think the idea is there. And if you've ever worked, if you've been one of the poor souls who works in retail this time of year,
yes,
it's absolutely sort of spot on in terms of the treatment that Donald is given, and it's one of the few times you kind of side with Donald a little bit when he goes nuts with his foreman. There's an unseen foreman that torments him and terrorizes him. And
I'm certain I've seen this one. It doesn't come to my mind.
Oh, it's a fun cartoon. It's a fun cartoon. He's got and of course Donald. He's wrapping presents, and he does all sorts of things where, like, what is it? He's got a football and something. He's got something that's like really tiny, and then a football. And he takes the tiny thing and he tosses it in the box that's clearly marked, that's supposed to be for the football. And he's like, well, that's not a problem. And then he takes the football and he puts it in the tiny box that's supposed to be for the other thing. I can't remember what the other thing is. And so he's like trying to squeeze it into this little box. And he pulls out a pin and he deflates the football. He pops a hole in the football and it deflates, and now it fits into the tiny box. Problem solved. He's got a trombone at one point, and he's he can't get the trombone into the box, so he puts the trombone into a vise, and he tightens the vise and makes it until the trombone is now a French horn, and the French horn fits into. It's a lot of that kind of stuff. A lot of that.
I'm certain I've seen this one, because a lot of that sounds familiar.
Oh,
I'll have to go back.
It's a fantastic cartoon. It's very funny. 1945. Falls down as he works at the Royal Brothers department store, where he goofs off by breaking gifts and wrapping them poorly. And I think if you've ever worked, if you've ever worked retail at Christmas, I think just you've ever worked in retail. You can relate to this slightly. Frank Graham plays this sort of there's a sort of I don't know how to describe this thing, but it's this sort of horn. It's not really a horn, but it's a speaker that kind of comes down and talks to him, and it's you never see his supervisor, but the comments to him and reports on the fact that everybody's the profits are up and everybody in the company is getting raises. Donald, yay! Except you, Mr. Duck. You need to be doing much better. So
that's
it's a fun cartoon.
I absolutely love these things. All right, so I lied. My next one isn't the 22-minute long one.
I think it would be.
It will be Mickey Mouse Orphans.
Mickey Mouse? I don't remember that one. I should know that one.
From 1931. A black and white Mickey Mouse.
Oh, wow. Really? We're going really old school with this.
I'm going back, way back, baby.
That's definitely Walt voicing him.
Oh, yeah. Mickey's Orphans is a 1931 animated short produced by Walt Disney Production Company, released by Columbia Pictures. The cartoon takes place during Christmas time and stars Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Pluto, who take in a group of disruptive and mischievous kittens.
I don't think I've ever. I don't remember this one. I've never seen this one. I know nothing of this. Wow.
It's very typical of that style of Mickey Mouse cartoons that were being produced back then in the black and white. So you have this basket and an army of kittens just pop out and start doing everything in groups in unison. So you'll have a bunch of them start dancing all together, or jumping off the piano onto a lamp, onto a chair, and then you would just you'd get 3 or 4 seconds of the same rotation of that.
Sure.
So a lot of that, very common for that time. But it's their house is being overrun by little cute kittens. I mean, it's just fun. It's cute. It's a nice one. It's like you just said, it's one that a lot of people just don't remember or don't know about because it is one of the older ones. I mean, 1931, Mickey came out in 1928. This is only 3 years later.
But it's impressive too because it says here it was the 36th Mickey Mouse film. I mean, they were just cranking these things out. Figuring through, I mean, that's like 12. That's like 12. You said Steamboat Willie was 1928, or Plain Crazy and Steamboat were 1928. This is 1931, 36. So that's 12 Mickey Mouse shorts a year. That's like a Mickey Mouse short a month.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, it is only 6 minutes. And like you said, a lot of it, there's a lot of places where you can reuse animation there where, characters are jumping on the bed or whatever. But still, it was nominated for an Academy Award in 1932, the 5th Academy Awards in 1932. It lost to Flowers and Trees, Disney's first color film. Well, that makes sense. That's understandable.
Yeah, that achievement.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a fun little one.
Ugh. It looks fun. I'll have to go. Is that on Disney Plus? I'll have to see if I can find that.
That is one that I could not find on Disney Plus. I'm not saying it isn't on Disney Plus. I couldn't find it, but I was able to find it on YouTube. Okay,
I think other than like Steamboat Willie, a lot of the black and white stuff is not there.
I think you are correct.
Yeah.
For a while, they had a lot of the shorts on there. I think a majority of the shorts would be there.
Right.
And again, either to make space for other stuff or whatnot. That has since gone away. So, yeah, it's not the Orphans review. It's not any of those. This was specifically the Orphans.
Or Mickey's Orphans. I've also
Mickey's Orphans. Yep.
seen, yeah.
And I just sent you the link to it.
Okay, cool. I'll watch it later. Let's see. I talked about that one. I talked about. Hang on. Oh man. What are we done to? Are we done to my last two?
Last two, if you want.
Okay. Golly. All right. I've got like three here, and I'm trying to determine one. I definitely, and then I'm trying to choose between my other two. I'm gonna not do that one. I'm gonna do this one instead. Again, I had Peculiar Penguins, and I was gonna talk about that because I love the little song and I love penguins. But instead of Peculiar Penguins, I'm going to talk about Once Upon a Winter Time, which is one of an animated short from the film Melody Time.
Oh, I like Melody Time.
It was reissued as a standalone short in 1954. And it's nice because, we've been talking a lot tonight about Mickey and Donald and Goofy, but this is none of that. It's very stylized. I kind of, sort of what I was saying earlier about Humphrey the Bear, I love to find some of the shorts that don't involve the characters and are almost kind of the standalone thing. Something like Pigs is Pigs or something.
Right, Santa's Workshop again, another.
Yeah. This follows two characters, Joe and Jenny, who are lovers, and they go out on a little ice skating thing. Again, me with the ice skating tonight. This is like a third ice skating short we've talked about. It's very sweet. They go out ice skating. They're in the horse-drawn carriage. There are two little bunny rabbits who are in love, and they hitch a ride with them. Joe sort of shows off at one point, and he I don't remember, he sort of blasts her with ice or something, and she gets very upset with him. They get into a little bit of a fight. The rabbits get into a little bit of a fight. At one point, she and the lady rabbit, Jenny and the lady rabbit, kind of go off, and they realize the boy rabbit realizes they're going out onto thin ice, and he tries to warn them. He's got a sign that says thin ice, and they don't even see him, they don't notice him, and he gets mad and he slams the ice sign back into the ice, and of course naturally it cracks the ice and everything breaks. And now Joe has to save Jenny. But what I like about it is that Joe actually doesn't save Jenny. It's the animals, it's the horses, and there are also two squirrels and two birds who are also there, and it sort of implied that they are also all, two horses who are boy and a girl, two squirrels, boy and a girl.
Very much mirroring, everything is mirrored in this.
Right. And it's actually the squirrels and sort of bring them, they manage to get Jenny and bring her back save her and bring her back into Joe's arms, and he's been he's been worried about her. And of course she's just almost fallen off of a waterfall. Which is for some reason in Disney cartoons, they build all of these ice rinks around all of these ice skating places are near waterfalls.
I've noticed that too. I thought
because On Ice takes place near a waterfall, and I have a feeling that your I kind of almost feel like the hockey champ. There's a waterfall. There's a lot of science there that doesn't quite work. In terms of how waterfalls happen and how ice happens. But hey, it's a cartoon. You let go of the ideas. And I'm thinking these characters are really kind of stupid if they're all ice skating near waterfalls like that. But whatever. I'm not an animator. But other than that, I love the look of the animation. There's a nice little song there.
Yep, he goes swinging around and look, there's a waterfall.
Yep. Oh, are you looking at the hockey chip there? Oh, there it is.
Hockey chip. Yep.
Waterfalls. For some reason, Disney likes to build their ice skating rinks near waterfalls. So, a warning to all of you who just bought tickets to Disney on Ice: be careful of the waterfall.
Yes.
But it's lovely animation. I love the designs and looks of these characters. Jenny has this wonderful little, this wonderful sort of hoop skirt that goes out, and then she's got this sort of frilly bloomers that go all the way down. They're very cute to look at.
Simple but very nice animation on them.
Yeah. On the characters, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the bloomers, but the
No. I just meant the stylization of the humans, and this was earlier on, so the humans weren't, like what we see in Little Mermaid and even Rescuers. But
yeah, 1954. So it's not early on, but it's a lovely style to it. And of course, anytime Disney animates, I love watching Disney animate precipitation. Snow, like I love early Disney cartoons where they animate precipitation, either snow or rain. It's just always just beautiful to watch. And this is no different. They do some wonderful things with the snow, some wonderful things with the ice. It's just a charming little cartoon, and I actually kind of like the fact that Joe. I started as they started to have the fight, and I saw her go out on the thin ice. I thought, oh, Joe's gonna come to the rescue and save her. And after being such a jerk, he kind of doesn't deserve that, but doesn't deserve to be the hero. But it's actually the animals who rescue her and bring her back to his arms, and he, it's not him rescuing her that makes them fall back in love. It's the fact that he was about to lose her, and they were about to lose each other, that makes them fall back in love. So I like Once Upon a Wintertime is the next one. And the song is sung by Frances Langford. There's a nice, beautiful little song there sung by Frances Langford. So that's the next one on my list. It's A December Valentine. Features the memories of a romantic couple in their courting days. Joe tries to show off for Jenny on the ice, but events soon turn to a possible tragedy and a timely rescue. That's what it says on the Disney Wiki for.
Okay.
That's the description via the Disney Wiki. What do you got next? What's yours?
So this would be my 25-minute one, because I will save the one that we talked about beforehand that we had mutually. I'll leave that just for you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. But let me see because I went on Disney Wiki before for the orphans, but let me look up this one to see how do they describe it. It's 1978. So
wow.
It does fall in. It clocks in about 26 minutes. And it is the Disney short, The Small One.
Oh! That was one I almost thought about rewatching. I saw that, I discovered that maybe about 15 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought about revisiting it this time around, and I didn't. But that's a lovely one. Talk about that, please.
Yeah, it's not to get too into things about it, but it is the most Christmas one without being Christmas. As far as there's no Christmas trees, there's no Santas. It takes place in somewhere, most likely Jerusalem.
Nazareth. On IMDb it says a Hebrew boy in ancient Israel takes the donkey to the Jerusalem market. So Israel.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go there. Yeah. Features its production Walt Disney released theatrically by Buena Vista Distribution on December 16, 1978 with a reissue of Pinocchio. It's about a boy and his donkey. His donkey called the Small One, who he loved very much, but his father said he just isn't providing the work that they need to get done. He's actually creating more work that he is helping with the work, so you need to sell him. And the boy begrudgingly, he obeys his father and goes into town to sell his donkey. And he has this nice relationship, but he understands that this needs to happen. He tries to find a good home for him, and he starts off going to this one shop that someone suggested and not realizing that's a tanner. Then someone else suggests the auction, and the auctioneer starts making fun of him, and he goes to try and protect his friend, and chaos pursues from there, and then the three merchants show up and try to suggest something, and it doesn't work out, and he's just so downtrodden because my father told me I need to sell him off, and just I can't find anybody. And then this gentle man shows up and says, how much do you want for your donkey? I don't have much. I just have this one piece of silver, which is all that the boy was actually looking for, to carry my pregnant wife where we have to go across the desert. And, we need a kind, gentle donkey. He's like, oh, he's kind, he is gentle, he is strong. And it turns out to be Joseph. And this the story of the birth of Jesus, where they go across the desert. So it's a very simple story. It's nicely done. It's a Don Bluth directed production. So it fits in that time with a lot of the animation style. But some nice music, some short pieces, and it's another one that a lot of people who don't know about it. But when you find out about it and you watch it, you go, "Oh, this was actually really nice."
Yeah, I remember that. I haven't watched it in a long time, and I almost watched it last night. I should have, but it's a really, really sweet cartoon, and unusually, sort of just. It's interesting because it's sort of, I'm not a religious man, but this is religious without being religious, and
it's historical.
Yeah, I suppose. But it's sort of nice. It's a nice, lovely, and I love the relationship between the boy and the donkey.
Yeah.
The boy and the donkey have a really, really, and that was what I worked in a store that at Christmas time played this thing, like the DVD that I have, which has this on it. I remember sort of watching this a couple of times, catching it while I was working, and like, I don't know this one. I ended up buying this DVD just so I could watch this cartoon all the way through, because I just loved the relationship between the boy and the donkey.
I remember when I was working at the Disney store, someone mentioned that how much they liked this one. Like I hadn't heard of it, and there was no way for me to see it. I'd kind of forgotten about it, and then when Disney Plus came out, and for some reason it came to my mind, I'm like, oh, it popped up on the list for holiday stuff. So I'm like, all right, let me finally sit down and check this one out, because people told me about it, and I'm glad I did. It is a sweet little story about a boy and his donkey.
And we should also note that the voice of Joseph, the kind gentleman who ends up buying the donkey, is Gordon Jump, who most people would know as either the Maytag repairman or also Mr. Carlson from WKRP in Cincinnati.
Ooh.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
And the auctioneer, I apologize, I don't have the voice here, but you will know it that once I mentioned, is the Flintheart Glongold.
And Gyro Gearloose on the original DuckTales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And then I'm also seeing Clarence Nash, the voice of, because we can't talk about a cartoon without talking about Donald Duck. Clarence Nash, the voice of Donald Duck, actually voices the donkey. And I see also Thurl Ravenscroft, who everybody would know was the singer for the Grinch song. You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, is also voices a character, is uncredited, but voices a character in this. So an excellent voice cast.
It's like I said, it's Don Bluth. There's a lot of talent.
Yeah.
In this, and the animation's beautifully done. The sets and the backgrounds, a lot of detail worked into it, which makes it just a very rich environment. So, yeah. So yeah, that's
a good choice, man. That's a good choice.
So say, does something that's 20-something minutes long consider as a short? I mean, it is classified as a short because it's not a full length.
I would count that as a short.
So
I do feel before we get to mine, I feel a little weird. I feel a little empty inside, and I kind of feel like I have mixed feelings. But you said pre-1980, and I thought good. But at the same time, I thought, well, I was glad you said pre-1980 when we started talking about this, because it took the big one off the table, which I think if we had just said Disney shorts, I think there was one that would have been at the top of both of our lists, because I don't think you compete with it. I don't think you can beat it. And yet now that we're down to the end, I almost feel like, well, can we really do this show without talking about the elephant in the room? I mean, it's like probably the greatest Disney winter short of all time. And again, we're kind of talking 20 some odd minutes, so can we really call it a short? So should we point out the elephant in the room?
Do you want to mention your number one first, and then we can bring up this one?
And then we can talk about the other one? All right, that's fair enough. Because I don't remember what my last one is. No, all right, so that's good. Let's talk about my last one, which Matt very kindly. We usually, when we're recording these shows, we don't talk about our lists beforehand. We generally like to surprise each other. This was one that as soon as I made my list, I looked at it and I went, well, this is going to be on his list too. And before the show, we did compare notes a little bit, not all of them, but some of them. This was one that came up, and I said, is this on your list? And he said, yes. And I said, it's the top of my list. And he said, okay. So thank you for taking that off of your list so that I can talk about it, because it really is my favorite Disney short. Might even beat out the other one we're about to talk about a little bit. But I think it's just a sweet short. Very similar to the other one that was the Toy Tinkers. It's very similar to that. Very similar in tone, and that's Pluto's Christmas Tree. Again, similar in story. Mickey brings a Christmas tree home. In the other one, Chip and Dale follow Donald home. In this, Chip and Dale are actually in the tree. He brings their home into his home, and Pluto ends up chasing Chip and Dale around and trying to chase them out of the house. And ultimately, in the end, Mickey finds Chip and Dale there, and he tells Pluto it's the holidays, it's Christmas, let's let them stay. And then they hear Donald and Daisy and Goofy outside singing Christmas carols, and it's a nice, sweet little cartoon. 1955, and this to me works a little bit better than Toy Tinkers, although it's a lot of the same storyline. Again, because it's Pluto doesn't do anything. It's not out of any sort of mean spirit. It's the same. If a chipmunk got into my house, my cats would chase it. If a chipmunk got into the house,
he's a dog being a dog.
He's a dog being a dog, as opposed to just being. Except for the part where he sets one of them on fire, because they're dressed as a candle.
But 1952.
Yeah, 1952. And they've done other. They had by that point they had done a couple other cartoons with Chip and Dale pestering Pluto and being rotten to him. But this is and it's got a nice sweet ending too. And I think it's a nice thing that Mickey sort of steps in and is the voice of reason. Says no, it's Christmas. It's
and I like the bit too. Whatever, Pluto's chasing them in the tree. And then Mickey comes right. Well, what's going on? And he runs into the room, and then he gets sucked into the tree. All four of them are in this Christmas tree.
I never heard you do a Mickey Mouse impression before. That was impressive. Wow.
Watch out, Brett. So the tree falls apart, and Mickey's yell at him, and then he sees Chip and Dale. Oh, Chip! It becomes this whole sweet moment, and then like you said, the singing, and then Pluto starts singing, and I want to say it's Dale, but it could have been Chip. I don't remember off now. Slaps a "Do Not Open Till Christmas" sticker on his mouth, just as the singer at the end. It is such a fantastic short. It I naturally put this as number one on my list too, but like why we figured out that you had it as number one. I'm like, you know what? I got plenty other ones here to work with. Restructure to give this one as your sole number one.
This was the only one I knew when I said to you, let's do top 5 favorite winter and holiday themed shorts. This was the only one that I knew, like, well, that's my number one. I knew that going in. I didn't have to watch it, although I did rewatch this one. I knew that like this had to go at the top because it was the first one that popped into my mind, and I thought, oh, it's a great cartoon. It's a great little 6-minute short. This one is on Disney Plus. You can find it easily enough. Directed by Jack Hanna, who actually directed a lot of the cartoons that we've talked about tonight. I think he also did Toy Tinkers and some of the others. I know I saw his name a couple of times when we were. But it's a wonderful, wonderful cartoon. So there we go.
Yeah.
Jack Hanna directed The Hockey Champ. I don't know about the others, but yeah.
I don't think it was Arv's Game. That's somebody else.
Right. Winter Storage, which you mentioned before, was a Jack Hanna. Toy Tinkers was Jack Hanna.
Well, I don't know if I mentioned Winter Storage while we were recording. I mentioned prior.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of like an honorable mention. It's a fun one, but it's. I'd like these other ones a little higher up than that one, but again, it's a fun Donald Chip and Dale. Chip and Dale just trying to get their winter provisions. They don't have enough, and they go to get okay, let's go farm the tree, and to find out that someone else beat them to it. Of course, being Donald Duck, he goes planting seeds, and they take the seeds, and so yeah, it's a fun one, but. I just I don't know. I enjoy it, but I enjoy these other ones a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you want to get into the elephant now, or shall we say?
We should talk about it, I suppose, because I don't think we can really talk about Disney shorts without talking about
Big Willie in the room.
Yes, we can't talk about Willie without the Willie.
Hot roast with Matthew, with green gravy.
Stick with your Mickey Mouse impression.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we can talk about we can't talk about Disney shorts without talking about probably the greatest Christmas short of all time, or at least certainly the greatest Disney Christmas short of all time, and that's Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Yeah, so well done.
Lots of animated snow in there, and I just love watching Disney animate precipitation.
Yeah, 1983, and they don't hold back too much on this one. And coincidentally, having a character named Scrooge, so naturally, let's make him Scrooge.
Well, yeah, I mean named for Scrooge.
Yeah.
So it's obvious casting.
The characters just fit in their niche perfectly. Again, you get a number of Easter eggs and characters like popping up. Mole and Rat show up.
Willie the Giant.
Yep.
Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket. You actually get Mickey's nephews.
Yep.
In this one, so you get Pete shows up at one point. It's again, everyone just kind of fits in the right spot for all this, and it's not all cheery and lighthearted. Wherever you get to the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, it's It can be a little frightening depending on your
Intimidating. It's a little dark.
yeah the tolerance of it. The weasels is also from
Wind in the Willows. Badger is hidden. Badger is in there somewhere too. I think he's
Fezziwig,
isn't he? Fezziwig, isn't he?
Yes.
No, Toad is Fezziwig. No, Toad is playing the film. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've watched it.
It's been at least a year for me.
Yeah.
I'm actually at this part now. Toad is playing the fiddle. Oh, okay. Lady Cluck's in there. Yeah, I guess he's Fezziwig. Yep, there's the goose. Right next to a grandmother duck.
Oh, Grandma Duck is in there too.
Yes.
Wow. See, no, I just according to Disney fandom, the Mr. Toad, J. Thaddeus Toad is Fezziwig, but I think Badger is somewhere in that scene, or I feel like Badger is somewhere in that scene.
I'd be amiss if he doesn't show up somewhere in this production.
Because everybody else from the horse is in there, for crying out loud.
Yeah, even the horse is in it. So it's hand drawn. It's you again, the attention to detail with the doors, with the notching in the wood. Everything just has this old and worn feeling to it.
It's funny you mentioned how scary the scene with the ghost of Christmas Future is, and yet the other really scary scene in the movie, or in the other like really terrifying scary scene in the book, is the arrival of Jacob Marley. And of course in this they cast Goofy in the role of Jacob Marley, and there's nothing scary about it at all because it's Goofy, for crying out loud. And it's a wonderful piece of casting to have him sort of,
But I love the bit that they threw in there for that is wherever, Goofy's talking about his chains and giving him the warning. And here you have Scrooge with a butter knife trying to see if there's any coin in with this piggy bank.
My favorite gag in the entire thing is when he's with the ghost of Willie the Giant is the ghost of Christmas Present, and he puts Scrooge into his pocket, and then he picks up the lamp, the street lamp, and turns it into a flashlight.
Uses it as a flashlight.
That's a great gag.
And he's going around lifting houses, and then of course you get the one with the woman screaming.
That's an old joke, but you can't not do it.
No, it works so well.
And I also love the thing where he's like, it's actually at the end when he shows up at Bob Cratchit's house. He shows up at Mickey Mouse's house, and he's got the bag there kind of off the side. And therefore, Bob Cratchit, I'm going to give you, and the little Tiny Tim looks into the box. Toys! Yes, toys. No,
not toys. No.
But we should also, because we do talk about DuckTales a lot here on the show, we should talk about the fact that this is kind of I don't want to say a precursor, but DuckTales is kind of grew out of this a little bit. It gave us the casting of, it was actually Scrooge's third animated appearance. He had been in 2 other shorts before this, but this was the first time that he was voiced by Alan Young from who played Wilbur on Mr. Ed. There's a story which I'm sure we've talked about here on the podcast before. Any one of the times we talked about DuckTales, which was that Alan Young was originally born in Scotland and then moved to Indiana when he, like the age of 6. Which is why when you listen to Alan Young speak, he's got this really weird kind of accent because it's like 6 years of Scotland that was then overtaken by a lifetime in the Midwest. So he's got this sort of weird sort of accent. It's like not Scottish, but it's not quite Midwestern. It's like Midwestern Scottish. When you hear Alan Young talk, he at a point in time, sometime in the 70s, he and a friend of his did a comedy album of Christmas Carol. They wrote this comedy version of Christmas Carol where they had played the parts. And then this came along, and it was actually a friend of his who was auditioning and said, look, I'm auditioning for a part for this Disney cartoon. you have a Scottish. Could you coach me on my Scottish accent because you're from Scotland? And they worked on it. And then Alan Young decided, well, actually, I might audition for this too. So he went in and auditioned for it. They did not have a script for Mickey's Christmas Carol. But they had this other comedy script of Christmas. It was a comedy version of Christmas Carol that they sort of used the script for just for audition purposes. And they handed it to Alan Young, and he took one look at it, went, well, I recognize this script. I wrote this script. So naturally, he just blew it out of the park, and was cast as Uncle Scrooge, and continued to play the role for the next, whatever it was, 35, 40 years. Played voice Scrooge. Yeah. And so naturally played him on DuckTales, played him in DuckTales the movie, played him in some of the more recent Disney shorts.
Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas.
Mickey's
Once Upon a Christmas.
Upon a Christmas.
A House of Mouse.
I love those. I haven't seen Once Upon a Christmas, but I love Twice Upon a Christmas. I really enjoy. I love watching that.
Once is nice as well.
What's that?
Once is nice as well, and that's hand drawn.
That's hand drawn, and I never thought I would I would ever think that computer animation would beat two-dimensional, but I lean towards. I think we should warn people, go looking for them. If you have younger ones, you might want to watch Once Upon a Christmas beforehand. There's a cartoon in there that deals with Goofy's son. It's sort of almost like Goof Troop Christmas kind of. It's Goofy and Max and Pete. And Pete says some things to young Max regarding Santa Claus that are upsetting to Max. So if you have some little ones, make sure that Pete doesn't upset your little ones before you watch it with them.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Be aware that if you've got some little ones, it might be worth watching Once Upon a Christmas first, and deciding whether you want to watch the Goofy cartoon with them or not.
And or be able to prepare yourself for any possible questions that may or may not arise from it.
There might be some things that come up that Pete really can be a jerk sometimes.
Yes.
But Twice Upon a Christmas is fun. Again, there's a great Donald Duck cartoon in there where he's trying to drink. All Donald wants is to sit at home with a cup of hot cocoa, and he gets dragged out by Daisy and the boys, and he's just trying, and he's miserable with them out at the shopping mall, and all he wants to do is get a cup of hot cocoa and sit and quietly. You almost sort of root for Donald.
I actually do feel bad for Donald that he just wants to sit and have his cocoa, and everything else is preventing him from doing that.
And then there's some wonderful sound editing in there where he's tormented by, which song is it? Deck the Halls? No, it's We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
Christmas torments Donald. And there's this one part where he's walking through the mall, and everything, the cash registers, just every sound he passes, his cell phones and cash registers and whatever else, all end up playing We Wish You a Merry Christmas. It's a wonderful piece of sound editing. There's also another really good one. There's a whole bunch of credits. We've gone well past the 1980 mark at this point.
By just a few years.
I love. There's a cartoon in there involving Huey, Dewey, and Louie trying to get off of the naughty list and onto the nice list. And Uncle Scrooge is in that. That's how we got to this. Was talking about Alan Young plays Uncle Scrooge. And to me, that's like, this is as close to a DuckTales Christmas as you will ever get.
I want to say that was one of the last. Was it one of the latter ones that he ended up being able to do? No, he is in some of the newer. The new Mickey Mouse shorts.
Yeah.
The Paul Rudd-ish ones.
Yeah. So he was still doing Scrooge for a little while. He still had some time left in him.
Yeah, because he did the video game Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
And then in the production of he did 2 episodes of the Paul Rudd-ish. Goofy's First Love and No.
And of course, he also did DuckTales the video game, the DuckTales remastered video game.
Yeah, that was before those, because that was 2013. The first one is 2015, Goofy's First Love, and No, which is labeled season 3, episode 10. That was January 8th, the release date January 8th, 2016, which is 4 months before he passed away.
Yeah. And then there's so I like those two. I like the fact that that's almost like a DuckTales. It's as close to a DuckTales Christmas cartoon as I think you're ever going to get.
Well, you got a couple of them in there because you have that one, then you have the sequel to a Goofy movie.
Yeah, you got that too.
The unofficial sequel to a Goofy movie, because as Jim Magon told us in episode 100, that they were not able to animate Roxanne's hair with computers at that time.
Really?
So that's why it's looks strikingly like Roxanne, less the hair, and they had to give her a different name instead of giving Roxanne a haircut. So
I always thought it was interesting. Like Max had like this. It's just one type of girl for old Maxie.
Yeah, it's a very specific type.
There's
very
something
specific
about her
type.
I like that. I can't quite put my finger on it. She reminds me of somebody. Maybe it's Mom.
Max, that looks definitely like somebody else you used to know.
Well, the world owes him a living.
Yeah.
No, but I was like, there's also a really sweet one at the end with Mickey and Donald, and it almost sort of borrows from Mickey's or Pluto's Christmas tree a little bit, in that Mickey brings the Christmas tree home. He's setting it up, and for some, Pluto is very excited to be setting everything up, and Mickey tried, no, Pluto, don't do that. Pluto, don't do that. Pluto, don't do that.
With Pluto, Mickey, yes.
Yeah, and then Pluto ends up getting involved, and everything gets destroyed. Mickey throws Pluto out into the backyard. Pluto ends up running away and ends up in the North Pole with the reindeer and Santa. The reindeer adopt him.
Which is a great job by Rob Paulson.
Jim Cummings too plays one of the reindeer, and it's actually really funny. Rob
he
Cummings
plays the straight guy,
and Rob Paulson's all like, let's name him, let's keep him, and Jim Cummings is very straight.
Can we name him Murray? In Merry Christmas?
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that.
And what actually really kind of struck me that I really liked is that Mickey, in his efforts to be Mr. Perfect, we all the sort of this idea that it all started with a mouse and the world sort of revolves around Mickey. Mickey, in this effort to be this icon and to be this paragon and to be Mr. Perfect, ends up being not Mr. Perfect. There's a flaw there of him trying to live up to his own image. And I really sort of love this sort of almost dark underbelly of Mickey Mouse. It was a lovely layer to Mickey that is never, it's the only time you ever see that addressed. It's the only time Mickey's ever really becomes kind of layered like that. So I really like that cartoon for that reason.
Because that's something that Walt tried to have in Mickey from the beginning, but eventually as he became more iconic and well known, they stripped that away, making him this more wholesome character instead of having these multiple layers.
But I think there's also, and I think this kind of existed in Warner Brothers too, where you had, if you watch Bugs Bunny, he's a little more mean in some of the early cartoons, and then when you start pairing him with Daffy Duck, and Daffy suddenly, Daffy becomes the heavy, Daffy becomes the real nasty, vindictive, prankster. So Bugs becomes a little more the nice guy, and I think that kind of happens a little bit with, if you put Mickey and Donald together, Donald becomes the vindictive one, and Mickey, sort of to separate, becomes a little bit nicer, a little bit kinder, a little bit more, a little gentler. It's that same kind of dynamic.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened in the mid-30s whenever Donald's now around and people don't want Mickey to be this mean little character, which, because if you watch some of the earlier stuff, he gets his little edginess to him in some of the stuff that he does. So you bring Donald in, so you replace that part with Donald, and that's all people know of Donald. So that
pushes Mickey in a different direction, and that's
right.
fine.
And Mickey could be the more sweeter, more wholesome character than and not pulling off the meter pranks and stuff, and leave that to Donald.
So, and it's not even going back to this Twice Upon a Christmas thing. It's not even that Mickey is horrible. He just sort of has he has a momentary lapse in judgment, based on other things, and it's a wonderful layer to Mickey. I really enjoy the cartoon for that reason.
And he loses his temper.
Yeah.
So and then you just see him remorse about it.
And then you see the real love that he has for Pluto and the care that he has for Pluto. And there's also a wonderful sort of gag in there where he's as he's out trying to search for Pluto and find him, he's tormented by this snowplow that keeps plowing him in, and that's very funny.
Yeah, I like that bit too. It's kind of a natural end to it. It's the ones in the Twice Upon Christmas as a collective are some really nice holiday shorts in compilations. Some of them are retelling of stories, like Mickey's Harmonica is The Gift of the Magi. Same thing with on Sesame Street Christmas Eve with Bert and Ernie doing this getting someone a gift and giving away your own possession, and the gift that you got them is for something that they gave away to get you a gift, and that whole bit. So that's in there, but that's a nice little piece. That's what Mickey's Harmonica. You said the one about Huey, Dewey, Louie going to the North Pole.
The North Pole.
And Kelsey Grammer narrates one of them. I forget if it's the first one or the second one.
I think he narrates. I think he sort of does the narration links to everything, maybe.
Yes,
because there are narration links that go from one story to the next. I know Chuck McCann voices Santa Claus, which is really fun. Chuck McCann is people would know better as Duckworth and a couple of the Beagle Boys on DuckTales, and lots of other cartoon characters and television characters, but Duckworth and the Beagle Boys are probably the two that he's best known for. But he plays Santa Claus in that, and is actually pretty funny. There's a funny little bit in there where they're trying to sneak into Huey, Dewey, and Louie, trying to get Santa's keys, and they're one of them, Louie, ends up sort of dangling above. They're in his office. There's a fireplace going, and Louie ends up sort of dangling above the fire. And there's Santa's on the phone with his with Mrs. Claus. Are you cooking roast goose? I smell roast goose. I don't know what you're cooking, but it smells delicious.
And they cause all these toys to fall out of their boxes, and it's as bad as the disaster of 19 whatever. And Santa's like, oh, that bad. So it's a nice. Oh, Kelsey Grammer narrates Once Upon a Christmas.
Okay. So we broke our 1980s rule a little bit. What's funny is we broke the 1980s rule to talk about Mickey's Christmas Carol and ended up just jumping 20 years and discussing something else entirely. This is typical for us. This is one of our typical best shows.
In case if you haven't listened before, 1990s Once Upon a Christmas, and then let's see, Twice Upon a Christmas was what year?
2003, 4.
It wasn't too long after. Twice Upon Christmas, 2004.
Wow.
Yeah, so 5 years later.
Wow. And there you have it. That's our Christmas show.
There you have it, a letter opener. Yes. So, thank you for coming aboard and suggesting and discussing.
Thank you for having me. This was a fun show to do.
Always.
We always have fun.
I love working with you.
I love working with you too. Who are you again?
I don't remember.
Oh, good.
I think I have amnesia, but I don't remember.
Are you Mr. Badger or Mr. Toad? I can't remember.
Oh, definitely Mr. Toad.
Okay.
Whee! He jumps up, yells sometimes. Like,
Okay.
I haven't watched that in a long time. Oh, Toady.
I watched it strangely last Halloween. I watched it because we watched my kids were asking me about the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, so we watched the Ichabod and the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. I'm a Wind in the Willows purist, so I have to confess I'm not a big fan of Disney's version of Wind in the Willows. It strips a lot of my favorite stuff from the book out almost completely, but the Ichabod Crane short, I love the Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
They did a really nice job with that one. The Mr. Toad part, from my understanding, is that it was supposed to be a full production, and then this was during the wartime, so they had to slash it in half.
Yeah,
they kind of married what they had together, because as much as I love Mr. Toad as a character and the whole bit, and I love the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride that we had in Walt Disney World until they replaced it with Winnie the Pooh, but you still have it in Disneyland. There's I think a BBC version.
Yes, Cosgrove Hall, which is gorgeous.
That is fantastic. That's the Wind of the Willows that I really like.
That is, they did a film version, and then there was a whole TV series based around it, which is absolutely beautiful. There's also a 2D animated version from Rankin and Bass with Charles Nelson Riley as the voice of Toad and Ed Asner as the voice of Badger. I think it's Ed Asner as the voice of Badger, and that's my other favorite, because that actually does keep not everything, but quite a bit of the story. That version, it's the Rankin Bass version is the only version of Wind in the Willows that keeps the chapter 9, the Piper at the Gates of Dawn, which is my favorite chapter in the book, and it gets overlooked because it doesn't have anything to do with the Toad story at all. It tends to get cut out. But the Rankin Bass version actually keeps the Piper at the Gates of Dawn in, and it's gorgeous. It's so beautifully done. It's probably the reason that I am such a fan of that chapter. And then Cosgrove Hall did the Piper at the Gates of Dawn as its own. It's not in their film version, but when they switched to doing a TV series, Piper at the Gates of Dawn was done they stretched it out to like a 24-minute episode, and it's beautifully done. It's wonderfully done. It's one of my favorite things. And again, we've wandered so far off the topic of, I don't even remember what we're talking about.
That's all right. We will bring up the Eric Idle version.
Which they wanted to do. Disney, that Terry Jones directed it and wrote it, and
yep, he performed Toad.
All of the Pythons, he got not all of the Pythons, but he got most of the Pythons to appear in it. And Disney, we're on the topic of Disney. Disney actually released it.
Yes.
And Disney wanted to promote it, or wanted to title it Monty Python's Wind in the Willows, and the Pythons struck back and said, no, you can't do that, because although we're all in it, this is really Terry's film. If it's going to be a Monty Python film, we would all have to write the script. It's not us. It's really, this is his. So Python would not let them do that. But Terry Jones wrote the whole thing, kind of going like the scene in the courtroom. He wrote Toad's defense attorney. He admitted he wrote that part for John Cleese, and it's a wonderful part for John Cleese. The rest of the film is relatively, you can bypass it and not watch it, but watch John Cleese as the defense attorney. It's classic John Cleese. It's classic Terry Jones. And it's a very, very funny scene. A very funny character.
You have Don Henderson in it and Stephen Fry.
That's right. I forgot Stephen Fry is in that. Yeah. And Eric Idle, and I think... And Palin, I think, is in there.
Yeah, Michael Palin's the son.
Right. And I think he plays the son, and I think he plays a clock at one point, too.
I just assume this as the son, but he could. Yeah, Cleese is in it. Terry Jones, Eric Idle, Steve Coogan.
Steve Coogan is a known British comedian. I feel like the jailer's daughter is somebody. Is it Miranda Richardson?
Let's see here. Bernard Hill. Jailer's daughter, Julius Walhill.
Okay. Yeah. From
Chicken Run.
Yeah.
Absolutely Fabulous.
Yes, she is. Yes, I know Julia Swallow. I know who Julia Swallow is. Yeah. I knew the jailer's daughter was somebody. And Bernard Hill, I should know who Bernard Hill is.
He was Theoden in Lord of the Rings.
Okay, there you go.
Captain Smith in Titanic.
I didn't know that. But yes, Theoden in Lord of the Rings. That's where I know that name from. That's where I know Bernard Hill from. We've moved if you folks are still listening to the show, you can turn us off now. We're done.
In fact, I think I'm going to turn ourselves off now.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think we've
stayed our welcome
out as far as we can.
So yes, thank you for enjoying our holiday Wind in the Willows episode. I'm going to go sit down now and do a marathon watching and binge Humphrey the Bear cartoons. And
tell me if they're all the same cartoon.
Oh, Humphreys. That's all I got onto the.
Have you seen I love the there's a compilation they did a few years ago in honor of Darkwing Duck's anniversary, which Jim Cummings doing all of his Disney characters saying, "I am the terror that flaps in the night." I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am Darkwing Duck, and he does one as he actually ends up doing Humphrey the Bear saying, "I am the terror that flaps in the night," and it's very, very funny.
Excellent.
Or no, I'm sorry. It's not. It's all of his characters saying, "Let's get dangerous," is the catchphrase, and it's actually worth seeking out and watching. It's just Jim Cummings doing Monterey Jack saying, let's get dangerous," and I
want to say I saw this, but I have to go back and watch it again just because I enjoy Cummings' work so much.
That's our little Christmas present to you: is go find Jim Cummings saying, "Let's get dangerous." And then go find that, watch the shorts we've talked about, tell us your favorite shorts, and go watch the extras on Muppet Christmas Carol and enjoy a little song that's not normally there.
Yeah.
And then if you run out of television to watch, go find Cosgrove Hall's Cosgrove Hall production of Wind in the Willows, or the Rankin Bass production of Wind in the Willows.
There you go. That's something for New Year's.
And tell us why we were talking about those in the Christmas show, because we don't know. And then watch Mike Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas and tell us if you liked that more than you liked Wind in the Willows, or if you liked Wind in the Willows more. Tell us which one of us you liked more. You can tell us you like Matt more, because at this point I'm just rambling. Have we killed this show completely?
I think it's flatlined now.
Oh,
and you can do this all on our Facebook channel.
Do it all on the Facebook channel. And when you're done with all that, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays indeed. Well, that's the show for this week, folks. Thanks for joining in. Thank you for Matt for joining us for this discussion. Let us know what some of your favorite wintertime/holiday shorts by Disney are in our social. Join the conversation on our Facebook group, facebook.com/WDMagicCast, on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, where we can be found at WD Magiccast. Also make sure to find our YouTube channel and subscribe there, where we're also, you can look up WD Magiccast, find us there. You can leave us voice messages through the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website, or record your own personal message and send it electronically to us via email to email@wdmagiccast.com. You could also send any questions or suggestions you may have to that email address as well. We would play and read your questions on the show, answer them on the show. Links to all these are in the show notes, as well as visiting our website, www.wdmagiccast.com, where you can get in touch with us there as well. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time you have, especially during the holidays, how extra crazy life is, and the fact that we have spent some of it together means a lot to me. Thank you. It means a lot to us that we get to weekly spend time with you, be part of this family. Whether we met not yet or not, it still means a lot to us. It doesn't go unnoticed. If we could ask you, please share a link on social, share a link out, let people know you're listening to the show. Also, go on to Apple Podcasts, go on to Spotify, and leave us a review. That will help them promote the show. We have all 5-star reviews on both those platforms at the moment. Keep it going. Truly means a lot to us that here we are 206 episodes later, and every review has been 5 stars. We try to bring you the best in entertainment that we can, just something to help escape the world for a bit, or just to have fun and listen to, be informed a little bit, maybe learn a little bit, and laugh along with us. Tell your Disney friends about the show. This way, keep the family growing. Walt believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when new episodes are out. And sometimes I do forget. Last week I wasn't able to. I apologize. But we're still going. We're still here. We're back again. While you consider becoming a premium subscriber, truly help the show out, you can do this over at anchor.fm/WDMagiccast/support, or find our Patreon page. You can also check out our merchandise shop. Get yourself some cool WD Magiccast stuff, especially for the holidays. Give it for you, give it for your friends, neighbors, families, babies, loved ones, whatever. We have a whole line of different things, from sweatshirts to hoodies to jackets, to t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, pillows, cell phone cases, coffee mugs for your coffee or tea, for a whole bunch of things. Check it out. Links are here in the show notes and also on the website as well. Remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. No matter what you're facing out there, no matter how difficult life is, don't give up. Don't ever give up. I know things, especially during this time of year, seem more difficult than ever to find joy, to find happiness. Don't let that win. Don't let that overwhelm you. This too shall pass. And you are special. You are loved and you are needed. You probably have made difference in people's lives that you never met, never know. But your impact will last a lifetime and longer. Be your own hero. Never give up. Never give in. Now I'd like to end this show with a quote about Walt Disney. On a more somber note, this episode will come out the day before the anniversary of Walt's passing. We unfortunately lost Walt December 15th, 1966. Happened to be a Thursday, just like this year. And on the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite, commentator Eric Severide had this to say about Walt Disney. He was a happy accident, one of the happiest this century has experienced, and judged by the way it's behaving, in spite of all Disney tried to tell it about laughter, love, children, puppies, and sunrises, the century hardly deserved him. On a personal note, depending on how much you listen to the show or not, or just know me, how much Walt means to me personally. I do this for him. I have this show because of him. I changed the name of the show in honor of him. Walt is I've never met him. I will never get to meet him. But his presence has always been there in my life. It is something that means a lot to me. What that one person did. And his legacy is all of us. All of us who enjoy Disney, visit the parks, watch the movies, continue his legacy. He has grown beyond the man who grew up in Marceline, who, with his brother, formed a little animation company and made some films. And Walt, I just want to say on this day, we miss you, we appreciate you, and we're better off because of you. Thank you for all you did. And on that note, I'll see you next time.
If you had it to do over again, would you do any part of it differently?
Well, if I had it to do over again, I think, no, I don't think I would. I don't know. I hope I don't have to do it over again.